Hello and welcome. As Nigeria inches closer to what many consider would be a very closely fought presidential election, the two major political parties in the country are ratcheting up the rhetoric. Now, the main opposition, All Progressives Congress, says the ruling PDP is plotting to frame up the opposition party leaders in the country in a bid to get them arrested before the election. What's more, the spokesperson of the APC, Lai Mohammed, alleges that the PDP is also scheming to frame up INEC chairman Attahiru Jega as part of a grand design to remove him from office. Now, the allegations are very grave indeed. Take a listen to the spokesperson of the APC.
There's a plot to transfer a humongous amount of money into the bank account of the INEC chairman, Professor Attahiru Jega, and then claim that the money came from the Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the APC in order to justify the ongoing plan to sack Professor Jega so he won't organize the elections. Beyond Jega, there's also a plan to credit the bank accounts of some key national institutions with huge amounts of money purportedly from our party, the APC, ostensibly to compromise those institutions. There's a plan to use some political parties that are satellites of the PDP to push for the postponement of the election again. The plot is to get the parties to address a press conference to say the election should not hold in the northeastern part of Nigeria until September 2015 because of the ongoing counter-insurgency battle there. The intention is to make sure Jega's tenure expires before the polls so that they can appoint a malleable card-carrying member of the PDP as INEC chair to conduct the polls. The presidency has retained the services of two Israelis and an Australian and a Belgian who are currently holed up in the villa to hack and corrupt INEC computers on election day, with the trial having already been paid 25% of their contract fees upfront. There's an ongoing effort to compromise the card reader, which the Jonathan administration sees as inimical to its rigging plans. 8. Huge funds are being provided for retired and serving security personnel to buy up PVCs with the hope that they can be used once the card reader is compromised. Remember, gentlemen, that there's a case in court seeking to declare the use of the card reader in the forthcoming elections unconstitutional. In the days leading up to the elections, the administration is planning to give the opposition the equity treatment by massively arresting key opposition leaders with a view to destabilizing their ranks, putting them away and paving the way for a free reign of their rigging agents. Towards this end, thousands of signed blank detention orders have been procured. As part of the plan to implicate our leaders, illegal substances may be put into their check-in luggage during local and international flights. That is why we are calling on our leaders to travel only with their carry-on baggage.
Well, grave allegations indeed. Now, the PDP has not been quiet in the face of those allegations. Spokesperson of the PDP Presidential Campaign Organization, Femi Fani-Kayode, replied to the APC shortly after it made those allegations. Take a listen to what he said.
The APC has made a series of absurd and clearly ludicrous claims and allegations. It is clear that these claims and allegations are nothing but the paranoid rantings of a paranoid little man that is working for a paranoid party. Rather than trying to prepare his master's minds for the defeat that is coming their way, Lai Mohammed has come again with his verbal diarrhea. The truth is that we are not strategizing to shift the election dates. We are not trying to frame up Jega. We have no plans to plant any illegal substance in the bags of any of the leaders of the APC whenever they travel. We are not trying to compromise the telephone numbers of any of the INEC officials. President Jonathan is not planning to arrest opposition leaders before the elections. The presidency has not retained the services of any foreigner to corrupt or compromise INEC computers on election day, and we are not planning to do any of the other reprehensible things that they have alleged. The truth is that if they were in our position, these are the sort of sordid things that they would do. Such dirty tactics and filthy things are a way of life and an art with them. But for us, such things are alien, perverse, and unacceptable. The PDP Presidential Campaign Organization is not surprised that the APC is resorting to peddling falsehood in order to gain public sympathy. For quite some time now, the party has been displaying its expertise in the cheap propaganda for which it is well known. We take exception to their fiction and false claims, and we will not take this matter lightly. These spurious allegations follow a well-documented pattern of lies that only recently saw them falsely claiming that an interview conducted by one of its sympathizers at the Abuja Transcorp Hilton Hotel was conducted by a so-called independent journalist in the UK. The whole world knows that on that occasion, as on many other occasions, the APC told a barefaced lie. This new smear campaign against the PDP-led federal government is clearly propelled by the fact that the APC knows fully that it has gone as far as it can go with its propaganda and deceit, and that it will be thoroughly beaten by the PDP at the polls in the upcoming elections. The APC and its leaders are simply unraveling and falling apart at the seams. They are the ones who had perfected a plan to rig the forthcoming elections through the lopsided distribution of permanent voters' cards. They were very comfortable with the fact that 34% of registered voters had not collected their PVCs as at February 14th, just before the presidential election was postponed. The APC and its leaders said that they were ready for that election when it was obvious that the PVC collection rate in the north, comprising some of the traditional strongholds of their presidential candidate, General Muhammadu Buhari, was higher than the collection rate in the south, the traditional support base of our candidate, President Goodluck Jonathan. We are happy that many eligible voters are now going out to collect their PVCs. We know that the APC and its leaders are not happy about this development because they had wanted to railroad themselves on the nation through a compromised and rigged election.
Now, one thing both parties tackled themselves over is the use of the card reader for the election. Let's take a listen to the APC first.
While we in the All Progressives Congress, APC, and definitely most Nigerians, also expect nothing less than very transparent elections. Indications are that those at the helms of affairs have grown so desperate that they do not even want the elections to hold. And even if the elections must hold at all, they must be held on their own terms. That is, no PVCs, no card readers, no JEGA, and the military must be deployed to intimidate voters.
Well, of course, Fani Kayode had a reply to that again. Take a listen to him.
Our position on the card reader remains that the machine has not been tested in any election, and there are bases for genuine concern over the use of the machine for the first time in a crucial election of this magnitude. We are aware of the plot by the APC, working in cahoots with some strategically placed and retrogressive elements to use the card readers to frustrate accreditation in some parts of the country, while not enforcing strict use of the machines in some other parts. The truth is that if they go ahead with that wicked plot, the APC and its collaborators will only be preparing the ground for mass resistance. They can be rest assured that we will not sit by idly and allow such a thing to unfold. The APC and its leaders are merchants of violence. They are creating laughable scenarios and possibilities that will feed into their agenda to cause chaos and violence before, during, and after the forthcoming elections. This is why we insist on the deployment of soldiers in the forthcoming elections, as it was done in the gubernatorial elections in Edo and Osun, where APC won, in Ondo, where Labour Party won, in Anambra, where APGA won, and in Ekiti, where the PDP won. One of the APC governors, in the person of Adams Oshimole, had this to say during the 2012 governorship election in Edo State, and I quote, "The army is here to deal with troublemakers. The only people who need to be worried are those who intend to cause trouble. As the governor of Edo State, I believe we need the army to complement the efforts of the police. I remember that under our Operation Thunderstorm, the army has since been involved in complementing the efforts of the police to provide internal security. So don't allow anybody to fool you that army is going to harass you or to prevent you from voting. No, the army is here to assist so that your vote will count." End of quote. So why is the APC now paranoid about the deployment of soldiers? They are certainly up to something sinister. The PDP has always insisted that the INEC has the constitutional duty to conduct free and fair elections, and hence has never interfered with the Commission's preparations. Specifically, President Goodluck Jonathan has always said he and his government have absolutely no intention of interfering with INEC's activities, even though the INEC chairman and commissioners are his appointees.
Now, still talking about that card reader, earlier I spoke to the spokesperson of the INEC chairman, Mr. Kayode Edowu. I began by asking him how the card reader actually works. Take a listen.
The card has been read by the card reader. The presenter of the permanent voter card will put his finger or her finger on the device, and the card reader will match the fingerprint that is being placed on the device, the fingerprint that is in the embedded chip on the permanent voter card. Because on the embedded chip in the permanent voter card, you have the biometrics of the voter, his or her picture, data, and fingerprints. So when you put your fingerprint on the card reader, it will match it with the fingerprints that is in the card, on the embedded chip in the card, to confirm that they agree. So that when they agree, it is clear evidence that you are the legitimate holder of that card, and then you will proceed with the remaining processes during the election. That's how the card reader works. It is simply for accreditation. It is not for voting. It is not a voting machine. It is simply to be used for accreditation.
Now, tell us, this the process you've just explained now, how fast can it be? Because I'm just imagining a situation where you have about 500 people, or say 200-300 on the queue waiting to get the accreditation done. How fast will this process be, the process you've just narrated?
Excellent question. Now, it has been, testings have shown that the card reader takes an average of 10 seconds to do these processes that I've outlined. Now, but we can actually we have also done some calculations for planning purposes. It takes an average of 10 to 20 seconds, but let's double that to say 20 to 40 seconds. Per individual. On a voting point, you will have a maximum. We have broken down all the polling units into a voting point of a maximum of 750 people. In other words, if you have a voting point, a polling unit that has 4,000 people, you will have in such a polling unit about 5 voting points. It's the same polling unit. They are not extra. They are not new polling units. It will be the same location, but different lines. Different lines of about 700,000 people on each line. 700 people, not 1,000, please.
Yeah, 700 on each line.
Now, if you multiply 40 seconds, which is the highest that you can. Now, let's also project, for the sake of planning, 70% turnout. Nigeria has never witnessed that level of turnout. The highest that Nigeria has ever had is about 55%. But for planning purposes, let's project 70% turnout. that will give you about 520. When you multiply 40 seconds by 525 people, you will get about 6.6 hours, 30 minutes. So that is when you are talking of 70% voter turnout. You and I know that we have never recorded that level of voter turnout in Nigeria. So we are only looking, we are stretching it as far as these calculations have been done. They fall well within electoral operations time on election day. So the commission is convinced and confident that it can be handled.
Now, we know you're set to begin the testing of these cards. Are you envisaging any problem at all, and what steps are you taking, just in case any problem crops up?
You see, the whole point of this field testing that is being done tomorrow is to see whether really fears that have been expressed are justified. As far as the INEC has done some testings of these card readers, that narrative out there that the card readers have not been tested is false. The card readers have been tested on a very minor scale, agreed, and in simulation situations, agreed. But they've been tested. We've done mock elections in the FCT. We've done mock elections in Nasarawa State, where the commission has gone out to the field and tested these card readers. But if anything happens, the guidelines that the commission, in agreement with the political parties, have provided series of alternatives, or what you can call plan A, plan B, plan C, in event that something happens. The first plan, for instance, is, like I said, the card reader has a 12-hour lifespan when it is in continual use. Now, if the battery, for whatever reason, has issues, I told you the commission has more than 35,000 spare batteries that can be used. That is one plan. Now, if the challenge is with the card reader itself, the commission has more than 26,000 spares that can be deployed. And arrangement has already been made that spares will be positioned at some point close to polling units, a ward point close to polling units, where you can have rapid deployment. And within an hour or so, that card reader can be replaced if it malfunctions for whatever reason. But the parties have actually agreed with the commission that in the highly remote and unlikely situation that a card reader cannot be replaced before 1 p.m. when accreditation is supposed to end. And I underscore the word
highly unlikely.
Yes, highly remote, highly unlikely, that it cannot be replaced. The parties agree with the commission that call for the exercise to be repeated the next day. In other words, you now bring a functional card reader to do the exercise, because if that happens, it will be in extremely isolated areas. And because it will be in isolated areas, you can bring functional card readers to do it in those areas where that happens. The sense in that is this. You see, if you simply adopt the option that if a card reader malfunctions, revert to manual, there's a high likelihood that human agency will come in, and before you know it, 70, 80, and 90% of the card readers will malfunction, because people know that you can revert to manual. So, but with this, there is evident that you can't revert to manual, and that itself will be a guarantee that there will be, the futility of playing games will be obvious.
Just finally, before I let you go, is INEC prepared for March the 28th, when we'll be having the presidential election?
I can give you a guarantee. The readiness assurance is of a much higher level now than it was even before the rescheduling from February 14. Before February 14 rescheduling, the commission was ready, although not 100% ready. Yes, not 100% ready, but it could still go ahead with the elections. But even now, we are far more ready than we were at that time.
All right. We can only wish you all the best of luck, Mr. Ado, you and the Commission.
Thank you so much.
And of course, to Nigerians, we wish Nigerians the best of luck as well.
Oh, yeah, we do. The country needs it.
The country needs it. Well, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we continue this discussion.
Honorable Victor Osei is a great man. Before you can find somebody, a politician, who bring out of his money to be sponsoring people with disability, and let me tell you, it's going to be hard because we know what our politicians use their money for. Victor Osei is like a Madiba to wheelchair basketball Nigeria. So he has really done a lot of things and development, and it makes us have a lot of international players. He has sponsored us to some international tournaments, and he has used his life to contribute immensely for the disability persons, and we are seeing the outputs because a lot of people from the lead to the end from his tournaments is changing their lifestyles.
Since Victor Osei came in, it's been one success story and the other. I couldn't imagine that somebody of that caliber could have a soft spot. Oh, I don't know, he has a large heart.
Welcome back. Now, to get a broader perspective of all this, two gentlemen now join me on the program. Achikechude is a political analyst and, of course, would be one of the field observers in the coming elections. And Mr. Nyakachi Ubani is a lawyer and the former chairman of the Ikeja branch of the Nigerian Bar Association. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start with you, Mr. Ubani. The card reader, should it be generating this much controversy at all?
Well, it should. I mean, this is the first time we are using issue of card reader device in our electoral process. And secondly, a device that will actually reduce the level of rigging, which has been an antecedent of our electoral process. They have always manipulated the electoral process. And this particular device is intended to nip it in the bud. And as I said earlier, it has never been used. So I expect this level of controversy. But the good thing is that explanation has been done as to the workability of the device. What is it supposed to do? This is a device that actually does identification of the real voter. When the voter comes in, he places his finger or her finger on the machine, and because of the fact that the machine itself already had your biometrics, you know, if it matches with the embedded information in the system, then you are the owner of the PVC, the permanent voters card, and it allows you to participate in the electoral process. So if that explanation has been done, to me, the further controversy in the entire thing is unnecessary, because the explanation has been done, and of course all the issue of maybe problem cropping up in the process, you know, have also. But
what would you make of the complaints of the PDP, for instance? Yes. We had the spokesperson of the PDP presidential campaign organization, Fani Kayode, saying, "Look, this thing has not been tested for an election before. Yes. It's not been used before. So why do we want to take the risk?"
Is he saying that a thing that is in use didn't have a start? There must be a beginning. And this is the first time we're testing it, and we must use it. And it is in the process of, using it this year that it now becomes a culture. It becomes part and parcel of the electoral process. So there must be a time. Is this saying that because it has not been used, before, we never use such a device even later? Because the time you're going to use it to, even if it's in 20 years' time, will be the first time. So we are saying there must be a start. Now, the history of this device is that in some African country like Ghana, it was used and was used to produce an electoral process that was adjudged as free and fair. Are you following me? Other countries have also used that particular device, and it turned out to be an electoral process that produced a free and fair election. And so there is nothing wrong for us as a nation to use it even in electoral process, especially in election that there's so much tension. And we have had this antecedent that I said earlier of having electoral manipulation becoming almost part of our culture. So any process that tend to reduce the level of rigging, tend to actually refine the electoral process, something that should be acceptable by all the political parties.
Let me come to you, Mr. Chude. 4 political parties have actually come out to say, look, if INEC were to go ahead, if INEC insists on going ahead with the use of the card readers, it would boycott the presidential election. And you are a field observer. Do you, for instance, with the explanation INEC has given now, do you, for instance, foresee any problem at all, and why this card readers should not be used?
I think it's strange for people who want to operate the biggest economy, one of the biggest economies in the world, in 2020. You want to believe that you cannot operate an economy that is manually driven, but an economy that is technologically driven. We have gone very far from the days of give me my tally number to a banking system that is highly computerized, that is technologically driven, and so on. And that is the essence of progress, that is the essence of development. You cannot be back where you are supposed to. I mean, 10 years down the line, you can't go back 10, 20 years back. That is no progress. So the reality is that, you know, INEC has adopted a system, or had a system from 1999 till date. 15, 16 years down the line, you're still operating the same system in a global system that is continually changing, with new things coming up every day. Of course, when you look at that card reader, you see a POS system, essentially, more or less.
More or less,
It was like when they were talking about DDC machines, we thought it was one massive, you know, box. It sounded so big and grand. And so
and INEC has made it clear
until we now
that
realize that it was just a, you know, laptop and then all the other accessories that come with it and so on.
You're right.
Some other countries have used this technology. It has worked efficiently. Now, the same card readers that were produced for those countries are being produced by the same people who produced them for countries like Ghana, Sierra Leone, and other countries that have used them. It's essentially the same, you know, card reader. So what will you be worried about? The machine itself and the embedded technology, or the entire system that surrounds the use of that machine? It strikes me that it is that entire system that is going to use that machine, including the human beings, that people should be worried about, not the machine itself. The machine is tried and tested. It's going to work. I do not have any.
Going to test
yes, yeah, exactly. Any problem with that?
Mr. Bani, it must be a huge blow if, for instance, because we know there are actually 3 cases in court now. Some people have gone to court to try to stop INEC from using these card readers for the election. It must be a massive blow if at the end of the day the court makes a pronouncement to the effect that the card readers should not be used.
Indeed, it will be a very big blow. You know that the process of acquiring these card readers passed through the National Assembly, and it was debated and approved by them.
And surprisingly, it's generating
unnecessary controversy. And as I said earlier, the explanation also must be done properly even in court, because the argument of those who have gone to court is that we are introducing e-voting through the back door, because the electoral law does not actually, for now, allow the e-voting. But it is not. It is not a process of voting. We have explained that it's a process of identification. If you are coming to vote as a voter, you must be known to be the person that has the card, that has registered. And it is done for accreditation purpose, to know the person that is coming to vote. There is no e-voting allowed under our law, and there is no e-voting being carried out using this particular process. It's just to identify the voter himself. Oh, I am the owner of this card, and that is confirmed by the fact that whatever data you have in the system is confirming to be in accordance with the card I'm carrying, and so I'm entitled to vote. And so if the court has such a proper explanation as to what is going on with this process, then there is no way any judge, you know, who understands the workability and explanation of this card reader system will now upturn or nullify the process of using this card, you know, in any judgment whatsoever. So I don't see any sane judge, you know, actually in this process, you know, not allowing this card reader's device to be used during this year's election, because actually it is not a voting system that is being introduced through the back door.
Yeah, and if I would say something on this, you see, the reality is that in the history of this country, some of the transgressions of the past, you know, have also featured judges, judicial officers, lawyers, and so on, playing very notorious and infamous roles in overturning, you know, a process that some people were not very comfortable with, and so on. And that was why I think, you know, I like the way Barrister Bani qualified the quality or the sanity of the judges. He said, if no sane judge, that implies, again, the presupposition is that you could have an insane judge. A judge that is morally inept, a judge that is not very professional, and a judge that is not committed to the virtues of the bench, for instance, coming out to make a ruling that might not be consistent with the realities on ground in this country. It's not impossible. And again, refer us again to the judge who took that decision with regards to the Association for Better Nigeria, the ABN, that truncated, an election that was up to date, seemed to be the freest and fairest in this country. So there are all kinds of intrigues, all kinds of manipulations, all kinds of things that are unhealthy for this country playing out, and that's why a lot of us are very, very uncomfortable. But like I said, it's not uncommon and unusual for the judiciary to play very infamous roles in this country.
It just could happen. Now, we'll just take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at the growing call in some quarters for the removal of the INEC chairman, Professor Tahiru Jega. Stay with us, don't go away.
Honorable Victor Osei is a great man. Before you can find somebody, a politician, who bring out of his money to be sponsoring people with disability, and let me tell you, it's going to be hard, because we know what our politicians use their money for.
Victor Osei is like a Madiba to wheelchair basketball Nigeria. So he has really done a lot of things and development, and it makes us have a lot of international players. He has sponsored us to some international tournaments, and he has used his life to contribute immensely for the disability persons. And we are seeing the outputs, because a lot of people from the lead to the end from his tournaments is changing their lifestyles.
Since Victor Osei came in, it's been one success story and the other. I couldn't imagine that somebody of that caliber could have a soft spot. I don't know, he has a large heart.